Hello, I'm James Ingram. This video was digitized from a 1992 videotape series named V9202. We've got the block hooked up here for checkout. It's not installed in the layout yet. What this is simply is just a little piece of test track here that's mounted in front of the camera on the floor, so you can see it doesn't go anywhere. Just basically the block and a little bit of track behind it for the slowdown section, a little bit of track in front of it to be the on-off set, or front of it to deliver the power. The block is off right now. I turn the lights down a little bit on this side so you can see these two lights, I hope. When I turn the AC power onto the block by closing this knife switch, you can see both these lights came on. The front one stays on. The front light, the clear one, is the indicator light that the block is receiving power, and so this will stay on continuously as long as the block is getting AC power. And as I mentioned earlier, I always like some kind of indicator light that my automatic devices are getting AC power, because sometimes these things are mounted 50 feet away from their power packs, so sometimes the wires get disturbed and you lose AC power, or sometimes the power pack itself goes out, or somebody disconnects it accidentally or turns the power pack off. So for troubleshooting purposes, it's always handy to be able to see that these things are receiving power. Now this light here, which is off right now, you notice initially when you turn the AC power on to the eye control, initially it goes into the activated state and then it times out. I've set the time down to 1 second, so this thing will just stay on for a single second when it's activated. The eye is up here in the track, so if you watch this red light, when I put my hand over the eye, you can see how the thing activates for a second and goes off. And as I mentioned earlier, we usually set it as far as sensitivity so that a train will trip it, but anything above it won't bother. You can see I can move my hand around over top of it, but it's not, the eye is not sensing it. I've got to bring my hand down pretty close to the eye before it goes on. I have to almost touch it, or almost touch the track to get that eye to trip. So it's not particularly sensitive, which is really the way you want it, because you don't want the eye tripping accidentally when a person walks past it and casts a shadow or something. So you can see if something passes over it even 2 inches above it, the eye is not tripped. You have to almost come down and touch it to make it trip. Now let's demonstrate this thing with the eye in the non-activated state, which it is now. The train can be driven across the block in the slowdown section as the same as the magnetic block. Now what I'll do is put something, I think, in front of this train to hold it back so we can just hear the eye going on and off. Now I'll just let that locomotive sit there, and what will happen is when I activate the eye, if you watch, when this red light comes on indicating the eye is activated, that'll turn the power off in the block, i.e. when I activate the eye to put the block into the red state, the on-off section will go to off. So you can see when the eye is activated, the block goes into the red state, indicated by this red light coming on, and the on-off section turns off. So if I remove my hand, the thing will time out in about a second, and you'll hear the train start up again. And you notice when the red light went off, about the same time the train started up. We can adjust this time for a longer time period. Let's just adjust it. It's a little bit. We don't want to. This is very sensitive. We don't want to go very much, or it'll be a real long time. Now it's activated again. Now you notice it's taking longer than a second to time out. There it took several seconds. Now if we go back to the slowdown section, again, if you remember with the magnetic block, in the slowdown section with the magnetic block and also this block, and here's the edge of the slowdown section. So from here back is a slowdown section. When the block is in the green state, the slowdown section gets full voltage. When the block is in the red state, the slowdown section gets reduced voltage as controlled by this rheostat. So now the block is in the green state. That engine is over there puffing away. Now let's put it in a red state, and you can hear the engine reduce speed, but it won't cut out completely. You notice when this red light comes on, which indicates I've activated the eye, you can hear that engine drop in voltage. And as before, this rheostat, rear rheostat, will control the voltage in the slowdown section. Let me just cover that eye up. You can see that while the block is in the red state, I can modify the voltage going to the slowdown section, i.e. tune the slowdown section by using this rear rheostat. And likewise in the on-off section. In the on-off section, as with the magnetic blocks, the voltage in this on-off section can be modified by using the front rheostat. And as with the magnetic block, the purpose of wanting to adjust the voltage in this on-off section with this front rheostat is when the block changes from red to green, if there's an engine sitting on this block and it goes from red to green, the voltage that it'll get to start up, the starting voltage, can be reduced by using this rheostat so the engine doesn't yank on the train at full track voltage. It'll start out at a reduced voltage. Then when it gets to the end of the on-off section, which is up here, when it gets to this point, it'll receive the full track voltage. But this rheostat gives you an optional means of reducing this voltage to get a gentler start when the block changes from red to green.